we've just been talking about this dynamic between Jimmy Spithill and Peter Burling, two really interesting, different characters. Give me a little insight into what you think is going on.
Well, I used to race against Jimmy a lot, and he was quite rightly named the pit bull. He was very aggressive, both in personality and in style, and that really served him very well with Oracle Team USA, where he got to in the end and then won 2 cups. I think what's really interesting here is that aggression, is it age, is it confidence? I don't know. The boat is clearly a little bit slower and has been, but Peter Burling has shown incredible maturity for a young age. But I think that's all down to his 49er sailing. The racing here is very similar to how it was in London. Boundaries on the race course, short course racing. He was a little bit faster, and so he didn't do a lot of match racing tactics or anything. As I said, just went faster, went to the boundaries, and does his own tactics, and you can see that on board the boat. And I think Jimmy is struggling with a lot of responsibility, both as the face of the team, as the PR guy. He has to roll out all these quotes all the time, and Peter Burling doesn't really have to do that. He's got great support from his crew, from the 49ers, sailed together 8 years, really tight, and you can see there's a little bit more tension between James Spithill and Tom Slingsby. Slingsby's an Olympic athlete, James is more a match racer and an America's Cup sailor, and I think we're seeing a generation shift to these high performance dinghies moving on into the America's Cup.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when you hear the questions now being asked at the press conference, it's like the sharks have smelt a little blood in the water, haven't they? And they're saying, like, you're 37, as if that was really old. But maybe for this skiff generation and that background, that is old.
There's no question 37 is old for that very athletic skiff generation. They are all coming up now. 5 or 6 years ago, some of these guys were like 15, 16, 17 and were getting into moths and stuff like that. And when you're 37 and you've been 15 years in the America's Cup, you just didn't do it in quite the same way. Jimmy made his name match racing and winning the Melges Worlds, quite different from winning a 49er silver and a gold medal that Peter Burling and his crew has done. And they've given the responsibility around the boat much better. And Burling always says, well, we don't really do these big team debriefs. Grant Dalton's not really involved in them. Murray Jones is more of a sort of mentor rather than a coach, because their Olympic process is the same every day, and they've just moved that Olympic process into their America's Cup sailing, and they just go home and have a beer and talk about it around a table. And yeah.
So you think what they've got there is a team of niche specialists doing niche specialised things, none of this crossover job thing?
No, well, they've just found a really neat way of doing it. And Peter Burling, when everyone talks about, he didn't tack on him here or there, Peter Burling doesn't really sail like that, because he sailed for so many years in short course racing in the 49er that he's like, if you tack 3 times or 4 times or 5 times up the beat, somebody will just tack once and they'll be round you. So they don't do as much of that. I think, if they get ahead today, last race of the America's Cup, you might see them throwing everything and the kitchen sink at them. But generally speaking, for the racing that we've seen, they've been quite expansive with their sailing.
Well, talking again more a bit about Peter Burling, I think if we're honest, we're all a bit intrigued by him as a person, because he's so impassive in lots of ways. I mean, he's like a calculating machine. He never really answers the question. He seems to be on another planet, really.
Well, I interviewed him in London at 2012, and here you can see him at the press conferences. I think he does a great job of being very Kiwi. I met his parents a few days ago. They are like salt of the earth Kiwis, and he just said there's nothing he says or does that doesn't contribute to a faster boat. So he's like, why do I need to talk all these words? And I think what's interesting over the last few days is that he's grown in confidence into the role, so much so that he's like, maybe if I give Jimmy a little bit of a niggle, it might actually help make the boat go a bit, might help us.
But that's not his natural style. You can see that. He's a polite, straightforward guy.
Yeah, he's a proper Kiwi, just a nice, straightforward, polite man. But I think he sees a few of these opportunities just to slide a little banter in, and he's done a pretty good job of it over the last few years. I really think he's come into his role very nicely.
So looking at today, if Emirates Team New Zealand go on and win a point today and take the America's Cup. This is a real incentive for New Zealand, Team New Zealand, to keep the format in this style that suits these guys that they have.
That is a very interesting question. Much rumour and gossip around the dockyard about what the next.
Fill us in.
Right. Well, the next event will be. There are as many opinions as there are people, so I'll give mine, which is I think that they will. I think it's very hard to put the genie back in the bottle when you've opened up things like these amazing foiling boats. I suspect that they'll still go with the foiling boats. I think Ernesto Bertorelli's into that. I think the Prada team are okay with that. And I think that they've got a team that knows about it. I think they'll probably get rid of the cyclists. They'll try and have a few more sails to go up and down, a few more things to pull. And I think it'll be very hard not to do World Series events that we've had, started by Ernesto Bertorelli, basically. And if anyone went to Portsmouth or some of the other World Series events, they were brilliant. They were so much fun. And I think we'll see more of those. But I think the Kiwis will keep it very tight, and they'll wait 6 months before they announce what it'll go. But I see 50, 60-foot foiling catamarans, 50% nationality rule. Mm-hmm. I think that's very important for the event.
They're going to do that.
I think it's very important for the event, and I would love to see the TV go. The event has tried to be young, Red Bull, and Russell said many years ago for the Facebook generation, and the boats have done that. They've delivered. They're exciting, fun. The bit that hasn't delivered, I think, is the TV, where they've gone with what I'd call old man TV, expensive subscription-based stuff. And I wanted to see it on Facebook, YouTube, or even Amazon.
Well, maybe they'll get the changes that are happening just generally in that area next time round. I hope New Zealand will.
Yes, it's just such a shame to see friends of mine who are busy working, doing this or that, who are like, I just want to watch it on the phone, on my Facebook. I want to watch it for 5 or 10 minutes, the crucial bit. And so I think the Facebook generation need to be served in TV as much as they do on these amazing boats. The format, 90% of it is right. I just think the TV needs to be more Facebook generation.
And Jimmy Spithill, so are we in, rooster turns into feather duster area here?
Well, he's certainly been cock of the walk for the last 10 years, and he has an Australian confidence about him that has let everybody know that that's what he is. And some days, as you say, you're the rooster, and next day you're the feather duster. And the America's Cup has a brutal way of turning confidence around and smashing egos. And Jimmy's had an amazing record in the America's Cup, but doesn't always last, and we may see that today.
But he is an amazing character, and he's great to listen to, and that attitude, it brings a lot to this formula, like it or loathe it.
Right, he's pretty punchy, that's for sure, and he's made for some good copy, and he's been a great face for Red Bull and for the younger generation, and the format that Russell and the vision of it has been great. They need, and now what's coming up is the younger guys. That Facebook generation are happening. I mean, Burling's only 26, got 2 medals, and now looks like might win the America's Cup. That's young for sure.
And what about all those people who still look at these boats, or maybe they're not really looking at them, thinking, "Ooh, it's just really not sailing. I don't like this style." Is that just sorry? Things have moved on. Life changes.
Yeah, I think things move on. I think we can, cruising boats are starting to get foils on them so that they can get to Bora Bora in like 10 days, and lots of those innovations are happening in the Imokas, in the Volvo, in the Moths, and now we've got Old Man Moss, Old Man's Catamaran, the F101. Those sorts of boats when you put on a few dad pounds are really going to happen. So I think it's really hard. I think it'd be really hard to see an America's Cup in 5 years in 80-foot monohulls. How would you do it? How would you make it exciting enough? Just not sure you would.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Thanks a million.
Thank you.